83-78 over Illinois, a top 10 win. It was at home in Mackey. Mackey's a super tough place to play, and Illinois found that out quick. Purdue got into a huge run to start the game. What was it, like 17-4 to start the game or something like that? It was huge, and it kind of, that kind of led most of the rest of the game. Illinois made a comeback in the second half, but really they just made a gap that Illinois really wasn't able to close until close to the end of the game, and Purdue pulled ahead and made it happen. So, Russ, what were some of your thoughts about this Purdue-Illinois game?
Yeah, so like you said, it's a really big win, and it was really big too. I'll give Sonny from Illini Cast some props on his research. He mentioned that Purdue has lost their first home game the last couple of years of the year in January, because usually the student section isn't there, paint crew isn't there, which again, they weren't there. I think there was a small faction of them that came back, but classes don't start until tomorrow now, as today's Sunday. And so there was not a full paint crew. And so it wasn't the full Mackey experience. And sometimes that's cost us like the last couple of years. So it was still big for us to get it done, even though it was at home. Like you said, they came out ready to play. They heard a lot of the naysayers. They heard a lot of, what was being said that week. And, Illinois all week, their fans, their coaching staff, everybody was already complaining about the officials before the game even started. And so what happens? Edey gets in foul trouble, and he spent pretty much the whole game in foul trouble. Picked up 4 fouls, only played 23 minutes, only scored 10 points. So who stepped up? A certain guy that you said was average, I think, a couple of pods ago, in Trey Kaufman-Renn. He was somebody that I've had to even remind my fellow Boiler Express guys that he was invited to Team USA camp as a freshman coming out of high school. He was Mr. Basketball in the state of Indiana. He did win state titles in Indiana. He was a higher rated recruit than like a Caleb First was. And he just had to kind of bide his time. He redshirted, didn't play a whole lot last year, kind of was still learning the offense, was playing behind Edey, and he's worked his way into the starting lineup this year, and he's been a decent scorer for us. And like I said, last year he scored 20 points in a game that Edey missed. So we kind of knew he had it in him. But he was doing everything. He even hit like a couple threes, I think, in the game. I know he hit at least one. I can't remember if he hit a second. So, that was huge for us. But, Purdue got called for 17 fouls, including the 4 on Edey. Illinois only got called for 15. So, I don't know what the excuse is next. And I think the next excuse I saw was, well, Edey spends too long in the paint. So now us Boiler Express guys, we're sharing the paint. That literally 3 in the key, for all of you that don't know, 3 in the key is called different in the college game than any other level of basketball. That literally, if you have one foot outside the paint, 1 foot in, and you just pick up the foot inside the paint, that resets the count. Every time you dribble, that resets the count. So that's why Edey, he learns the rules. He's a smart guy, and we didn't need a whole lot of that this game. We didn't need a whole lot of that. So it was a really good game. It was good to see them weather the storm. I did predict that Illinois would make their runs, and they did. They got back in it late. I don't know if Purdue fans know what a flagrant foul call is anymore. Because if you go back to the Maryland game, Fletch got called for a flagrant foul when he barely tapped the guy. Like, it wasn't even a call that you could embellish or flop on. He got called for a flagrant. Mason Gillis in the first half of this game literally gets like 2-arm chucked out of bounds, lands on his back. We thought he hit his head, might be out for the game kind of a thing. Not a flagrant foul. But then Lance Jones has a perfect box out going, and I think it was a Gear, like jumped over his back, gets called for flagrant, and that pretty much gets it to a 2-possession game, and now Purdue's sweating it. But we got it done. Painter had to play a lot of shuffling there with Edey and what we did with the lineups there because of this foul trouble. But I'm pretty proud of Purdue and getting it done. And that's 5 top 12 Ken Pom wins now this year. So huge.
Yeah, it's no doubt Purdue has the best resume in college basketball out of anybody. The teams they beat this year, and if I'm an Illinois fan, I know Illinois fans, you're mad about various things, and I get it. I'd be mad too. We all have our things, but I mean, you went into Mackey against the number 1 team in the nation, got their big guy in foul trouble, and came away with only a 5-point loss. Without Terrence Shannon Jr. Listen, I'm not trying to be all roses for you over here, but you're a damn good basketball team if you can do that. Kent, what were some of your thoughts on the game?
Well, I heard, Russ, I have a question for you real quick. You said there were some naysayers before the game. Do you think that they let the naysayers know then?
Yeah, they definitely lanked it up for that game, for sure.
All right, I had to double check on that. No, this was, I had my whole Friday night mapped around this game, and it like kind of lived up to the billing for me. It was just fun as like not a fan of either team to just watch this game. But I came away from it. I'm more of a believer in Illinois now, I feel like even after that, because I already believed in Purdue, like they kind of proved what they were going to be a long time ago. They've already played multiple top 10 teams. So I already know what Purdue is. I think that they're great. But even like on the second level, though, just even on some guys, like Braden Smith has never been a guy that I've really been in love with, but I thought that he played a really pivotal role in this game, controlling kind of what Purdue was trying to do and hit some big shots. And then my favorite player on Purdue is Mason Gillis this year. I think that he didn't score a ton, but the shots that he hit when he hit them just swung the momentum back to Purdue, and I thought that was key. But like you were saying, JR, Illinois, I still believe in them. You go into Mackey and you score 78 points, and they just got done blowing out a pretty good Northwestern team. So it's not like Illinois had a bad week. I like what they're doing, and I still think that they're a strong team to be reckoned with in this conference.
For sure, yeah. I think Illinois definitely has a good chance of getting to the Final Four. And to be honest, I don't know. I might like this Illinois team better without Terrence Shannon Jr. I know that's like blasphemy, and I know everybody loves him. And don't get me wrong, I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is one of, if not the best wings in college basketball this year. But the offense just, I don't know, it just looks better without TSJ there. And again, I'm not trying to dog him or anything like that. It's just they're looking better. And I really liked what Brad Underwood did when he went with the 5 shooters lineup. What was that? Domask, Hawkins, and who's the other guys? Domask, Hawkins, Goody, Guerrier, and Harmon. I think that's who it was. That was the 5-man lineup that Underwood started to go with, and I felt like that was the lineup that they needed to use the entire game because Ty Rodgers, Matt Painter did a masterclass of what to do against a guy when you have a really big guy who can kind of, I'm not going to say camp out in the paint, but, hang around the paint a little bit more and be able to guard that guy because that's what he did with Ty Rodgers, and it was a masterful plan to do, and I don't think Underwood really adjusted super well to that until he put that 5-man lineup in, or the 5-shooter lineup in. And then when he finally did that, that's when you saw Illinois go on their run to kind of get back into the game and make it closer. So I think Matt Painter did an awesome job coaching in this game. My one drawback is, and far from me to tell Matt Painter how to coach, but I personally don't like the shuffling a guy in and out like he did with Edey, because Edey got his 4th foul. And then he started putting Edey in for offense, taking him out for defense, put him in for offense, take him out with defense. And I get what he's doing there. He doesn't want Edey to get his 5th foul. However, I just think it's really, really hard for a player to get into a rhythm and play when he's swapping in and out. And it's hard for the rest of the team to get into that rhythm and play when a guy is swapping in and out, especially a guy who's as impactful as Zach Edey is. So, Russ, I'm sure you'll probably have a little bit of pushback there, but what are your thoughts on the back and forth with Zach Edey going in and out?
Yeah, I think he had to play that, especially as Illinois made their run, because I think his mindset was, yes, obviously I don't want to pick up his 5th foul, but if Illinois makes the run and makes overtime, you don't want to go into overtime without Zach Edey, to at least have him starting the overtime to get some kind of run going, to get momentum. And so I think if we're down, a possession or two in that situation, he's not playing that with Edey. He's just leaving him in the whole game because he is too influential. But he was definitely, he was getting some of the different calls too. It wasn't necessarily, I think only one foul was actually a defensive foul, as far as the guy posting him up and he got caught on a shot fake, I think, and then came down on the guy and they called a foul. He had 2 over the backs, and then the one was a trip on a set and a screen. So, but, even then still, you can't take that risk, I think, on defense to lose him on a touch foul, because, Illinois was obviously keying on him. They were talking about it all week, like I said, the way he was officiated and the way they're going to attack him. So I understand it. I don't like it either, but I understand it.
Yeah. And far from me to give the refs credit at all, because I don't think that they, called the best game ever. I definitely don't think the box out was a flagrant call. I think you could have maybe called it a foul, but I don't think it was a flagrant by any means. But at least I don't feel like the refs, decided this game for anybody. I felt like, there was enough play out there that the players kind of decided the game. Kent, do you agree with that, or were you a little bit more critical of the refs than I was?
I didn't have a rooting interest, so I didn't think the refs were bad at all. Obviously I was on Twitter throughout the game, and I kind of got swayed by the Purdue fans that wasn't a flagrant foul. I probably wouldn't have called that as well. I wouldn't have called that a foul though at all. So I don't think that. I mean, but that's one call, and this is Big Ten officiating. So like this is going to happen every game. So I just feel like that's going to always be part of it. It's going to play a role. And it's something that good teams are going to have to overcome. And that's what Purdue did the other night. Illinois wasn't able to. So you got to kind of go into the game with that mindset. Like, hey, we're going to get a couple of bad calls. Like, let's not not trying to call him out or anything, but Coleman Hawkins is like beside himself every time there's a call on Illinois. It's like, dude, they're going to make calls on you and on your team. It's like,
my new nickname for him is Coleman LeBron James Hawkins. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, like I said, I'm not a Purdue fan, but just watching that game as a neutral observer is just like, relax, man. Like, go on to the next play. Close game right now. Like, don't get so emotional about it. But it's college kids and they're gonna do that. So yeah, it's a big part of it. But I thought the officiating was fine on Friday night.
Yeah, I go back and forth with Coleman Hawkins because on one hand, I love the passion, right? Like the guy really cares and he wants, so I love seeing the passion and the emotion, but I'm with you, Ken. At a certain point, it's like you gotta let stuff go and not let it linger in the back of your head. And that's what I felt like Coleman was kind of doing. So on one hand, I love the emotion and I love the passion. But on the other hand, it's like at a certain point, you got to let it go and just go out there and play ball. And unfortunately for him, he had that, costly, what was it, traveling or something like that at the end of the game that hurt.
I mean, that was the game actually, I think, because they still had a chance to. What were they down 4 or 6 right there, and he gets it in the corner on the inbounds.
It was 6, but then Purdue didn't score the next time down, so they still got the ball back with the same margin. But you had like 20 or 30 seconds to go off the clock, so it was huge. It was still huge.
Massive call. So yeah,
that was huge. Yeah, traveling. That's what it was. Yeah,
traveling. Yes, it was a travel. Seconds. And he knew it too. That was the one that he didn't argue because he knew he did it.
And the one he argued the most was the one where he basically went through Lance Jones on that 3 at the end of the half.
Oh, my God,
That was like the most obvious one. And I'm like, how is that the most animated you got? Like, I could understand arguments on some of the other ones, but...
Yeah, and that's where I feel like
him. Yeah,
that's where I feel like the frustration and the emotion got to him because, like, he almost just wasn't playing within himself at that point. Like, he was so frustrated with everything going on that he just went with it too much. So, yeah, it's tough. Russ, we got turtle heads here calling you out. Russ, my man, don't miss a Big Ten huddle. Respect it, even if BXP left big banter. Yes, BXP no longer big banter, but that's all good. We got one big banter in our casual and our Boilermakers here, so no hard feelings. We love Russ and we love the Boiler Express still. So,
winning has its privileges, I guess. I'm on here,
right? Any other final comments on the Purdue Illinois game before we move on, guys? Nope.
Yeah, I do want to say, like Kent said, I'll give Illinois its props, though. I do think they're still a top 2 to top 3 team in the Big Ten. And like you said, JR, they might even be better without Terrence Shannon Jr. Like, they spread the ball around. Domask is a star in this league already. So, I think that they could really, like you said, be a Sweet 16, even a Final Four sleeper team. So, yeah, they're definitely they have nothing to hang their heads about at all.
And Goody, too. Luke Goody. I love watching Luke Goody play. I'm really, really excited to see him continue to progress. So, thanks for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.